Welcome back everyone, Oz here, and today I've got some r/AmITheDevil for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading the posts, giving you my own opinion, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Originally posted to r/AmITheAsshole. Am I the asshole for taking my stepdaughter's toy? I, 36 female, married Joel, 42 male, 2 years ago, and took on the role of mom for his kids, Harry, 14 male, and Bianca, 10 female, Eugene, 8 male. Because their mom is no longer in the picture. All three of them appreciate me, but I feel they don't see me as anything more than a stepmom, especially Bianca. Lately, Bianca's been acting up. Her therapist, yes she has one, is saying it's normal, but it feels like the only one she's disrespecting is me. Last week I was telling her to do something and she refused, so we argued and it came to a head when she yelled, "You're not my mom, and you'll never be!" This was devastating, and I had a breakdown that night about it. Joel comforted me and decided this couldn't go on any longer. Bianca's favorite thing is a stuffed dog her mom gave her. Oh no, you didn't. She has it everywhere, and has even gotten in trouble for bringing it to school. Joel said that for her behavior, I should take it away from her, either until she behaves or we toss it if she refuses. I agreed and took it from her, saying if she respects me, she gets it back. If by the end of the month nothing changes, she will never see it again. She screamed and cried and ended up locking herself in her room. She called her grandmother, Granny gave her a phone, and she took her to stay at her house for a couple of days and told us off. The therapist also found out and said that we were wrong for doing it and that it's harmful to take something like that from her. Joel says I wasn't wrong though, but I wonder if maybe I could have done something different. Was I the asshole? So, by the sounds of it, the mom is no longer in the picture because she passed. And Bianca, a 10-year-old who's trying to grieve and has a therapist to assist her with grieving, has a stuffed animal that her mother, who has passed away, gave her. And in the process of what sounds to be the first ever instance of a 10-year-old being disrespectful, you decided to confiscate one of the few things that she has left that her mother gave her. If you were really banking on her growing up to never love you, then this is exactly how you do that. Not to mention, the father is also in the wrong here as well for encouraging this behavior and not having any kind of value whatsoever towards his daughter's feelings. Both parents in this situation are most certainly at fault, and you should probably listen to the grandmother and therapist. This is extremely damaging to the child, without a doubt. Originally posted to r/AmIWrong. My wife is sad because I got my close friend gourmet ice cream when she was sick. Am I wrong? My wife and I have been married for 5 years, and we've never really had any major relationship issues. However, I did something yesterday, and my wife has been kind of sad and aloof since. For context, my wife has been really sick for the past couple of days, and she's been staying at home. Now, normally, I would have taken PTO to support my wife, but work was really busy this week, and had to go to the office for important meetings. My wife was very understanding, but did ask if I could come home soon after work, and I said sure. I am also close friends with Elena. We've been friends for 5 years and she works at my same company, albeit in a completely different department. My wife knows about Yelena, and Elena's even come to our house a couple of times for dinner. While my wife isn't super close with Elena, she does think Elena is sweet. Hey, take a shot every time Yelena's name is mentioned, but the wife's isn't. Yesterday was Elena's birthday, and we usually don't do anything fancy on birthdays, we just give each other small gifts or go have lunch or dinner. So after work yesterday, Elena and I went to a fancy ice cream place nearby which opened a couple of months ago, and that was my treat/birthday gift to her. The whole thing took maybe 40 minutes, and I went home immediately after that. When I got back home, my wife asked me why I was late, and I told her it was Elena's birthday, and we just went to have ice cream after work. My wife looked very sad after that, and I asked if I did something wrong. My wife said no, but ever since then, she's been kind of sad. I've asked my wife multiple times why she's sad, and I even apologized, but my wife told me there's no reason to apologize, and I did nothing wrong. Am I wrong? Is it Yelena or Elena? Because I'm hearing two different pronunciations for it when I try to Google it, but anyways, that's besides the point. I do find it kind of odd that you gave, your coworker a name on the Reddit, but you didn't name your wife. That's a little odd to me. But I think the reason why your wife is probably upset is because your wife requested that you come home as soon as you can once you're off of work because she's currently sick. And then one day, without warning, you're home 40 minutes late, she asks you where you were, and she finds out that while she was sick, you went on kind of a weird ice cream date with one of your coworkers. And you didn't even let her know that that's what you were going to do, or, hell, offer to get her anything for the way back. Instead, you were home late, she was probably wondering where you were, you get home, she finds out you went on a weird ice cream date, and only told her after the fact. Now that's certainly the surface level observation of why she'd be upset, but if I were to tinfoil hat this, OP, even in the Reddit thread, talks just a lot about Elena. And it's just the overusage of her name, not giving his wife a name, and probably not to mention if this is how he talks about Elena on Reddit, I can only really imagine how it is off of the internet. We know that his wife is aware of who Elena is, and they've even had her over for dinner. I can only maybe possibly think that maybe his wife thinks something might be going on between her husband and Elena and is a little bit concerned or jealous of Elena. Now that's tinfoil hat theory, and the easiest solution of course is just communication, of just simply talking with your wife and letting her know, hey, Elena's just a friend. Hopefully. And you've got nothing to worry about. Now of course don't use those exact words, that's pretty much just like the cliff notes of the conversation that, could potentially occur, but still. I know that when something's upsetting me that I'm insecure about, and I'm unable to not wear it on my face and people are asking me, I will oftentimes just say, no, don't worry about it, it's fine, you did nothing wrong, because I know it's my insecurities that are eating me apart. And I wouldn't rule it out that, OP's wife is dealing with something similar. But as per usual, I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on this, if you agree with me, disagree with me, or, any of that kind of stuff. I just ask that you keep it respectful. Originally posted to r/pet-free. I'm aware this is low-hanging fruit, but it's fun. Owning a pet is mostly about being part of a cult, and I wonder when pet addicts are going to snap out of it. I took a break from the pet-free subs to take a step back, and what I've noticed today since coming back is how pet addicts continue to repeat the same nonsensical anti-human monologue as if they're in a trance by the neurological effects that their pet parasites have on their condition. I asked Gemini AI symptoms of being in a cult, and it gave the following answer. Quite enlightening, and all I'm thinking is that it's a waste of time trying to argue with pet addicts because they're so conditioned to not simply see that pet animals are a completely different species they can't reproduce with. Hold on. So your first thought when you see a pet is, I can't fuck that. Like, dude. What the fuck? Anyways, they're so conditioned to not simply see that pet animals are a completely different species they can't reproduce with, let alone experience real love with. And they've basically sacrificed their human rights to live a life of servitude. Symptoms of being in a cult include unquestioning loyalty to a leader, crossed out, pet, isolation and fear of the outside world. Cults are often dangerous organizations that manipulate and harm their members. Symptoms: unquestioning loyalty. Members worship a charismatic leader, pet, without question. Isolation. Members are isolated from family and friends. Fear. Members have unreasonable fears of the outside world, such as evil conspiracies or persecutions. No tolerance for questions. Members are not allowed to ask questions or question the leader or pet. No financial disclosure. There is no transparency about the group's finances, like excessive vet bills and GoFundMe pages to pay for the excessive vet bills. No legitimate reason to leave. Former members are blamed for leaving and are considered wrong or evil. Groupthink. Members share common beliefs and are controlled by groupthink rather than individualism. Abuse. Members may be abused physically or psychologically. Other characteristics of cults: secretiveness, hostility to non-members, authoritarianism without accountability, and illegal and dangerous behaviors. Dude, I fucking hate it when my cat makes me steal a stop sign. Also, ironically enough, every single point listed here could actually be pointed towards members of r/pet-free, funny enough. I'm also still just genuinely floored by the fact that one of OP's first reasons for not wanting a pet is that you can't reproduce with it. Like, if you applied this logic to how you make friends, it's like, sorry, dude, I can't be your friend because if we were to fuck, we couldn't reproduce, so get out of here. Like, out of every possible reason not to have a pet, why is this the first one they think of and put in their post before they even begin the talk of cult behavior, which none of it even implies? I mean, I could go through and tear down every point individually, but I would just be preaching to the choir. Like, the only reason why this is here is just because they're so incredibly unhinged. It's low-hanging fruit, but it's a lot of fun, and it's just a nice palate cleanser. Originally posted to r/legal advice. 30 years old, no criminal background, Wichita, Kansas. Today I was put in cuffs and slammed against a window over an energy drink I didn't steal. I went to a local Dillon's today, grocery owned by Kroger, and when I go shopping there, I tend to pick up a Monster energy drink and drink it while I shop. I always pay for them. When I grabbed one out of the store fridge today and opened it, I noticed it was flat and dented. I threw it away in the trash can in the store and grabbed the new one. I paid for the new one with my groceries on the way out. A manager, and I could only assume since his badge was backwards, a security guard stopped me just outside the doors, placing a hand on my shoulder and asking me to come back inside. I did. When we got back in the store, they pointed to a steel door and obscured staircase and told me to go up it. I refused. They told me that I damaged property and that it was stealing. I told them it was damaged when I picked it up and threw it away. I apologized for not bringing it up to an associate, but they didn't care. The assumed security guard kept telling me I needed to just come upstairs and make it right, and told me I should pay for the drink. Apparently, my opening it meant I had damaged the already damaged product. I refused to pay for it, refused to go upstairs. They told me they'd call the police if I didn't comply. I sat by their ice chest telling them that I would wait until the police arrived. While I waited, I called 911 and explained that I have extreme anxiety problems and asked that they inform the officers that I was stepping out for a cigar and attempting to calm down. In the process of heading out, 2 officers came in the door. They asked me to come back inside, and I did. I explained that I was on the phone with 911, while one officer demanded that I go up the same stairs the security guard had indicated earlier. I refused, and told the officer that they could take me to the police station, but I would not go up those stairs. Now is a good time to mention that I'm on medication for bipolar disorder and severe anxiety. As I was telling the officer that I would go to the police office, I felt one of them sliding a handcuff over my wrist behind my back. No warning, no nothing. I panicked and tried to turn to see what was happening, and an officer restrained me as they continued trying to put on the cuffs. Edit. I remember that I did turn back and forth asking what they were doing and trying to see. I did try to remain calm after I realized there was no sense in struggling. I settled down and waited, but then they started dragging me up the stairs again. I panicked and tried to back away. I told them I wouldn't go up, but would go to the station. I struggled hard, and one officer shoved me, face first, against the store window while they checked the cuffs. They tried again to drag me upstairs, and I guess I braced my foot on the door to try to stop. It was terrifying, and by the time they got me upstairs, I was nearly in tears. They were telling me to comply, and I was shouting that I would, but I would not go up the stairs. In the office upstairs, I argued with the officer that he couldn't do this and that it was assault. I felt like it was. I told him I wasn't under arrest and hadn't been read my rights, so it was wrong. He told me that it was an assault, that I was under arrest, and that being in cuffs means that I'm under arrest. Once he said that, I did my best to settle. I sat calmly for the rest of the I don't know what to call it in the officer after being told I was under arrest. Inside, I was at full panic. I explained to someone that I had mental issues I am being medicated for, and suddenly everyone calmed down. A high-ranking officer showed up to review the tape of the arrest because of my screaming and flailing while being cuffed. I'm guessing someone had called the police. Anyway, I gave them all my information and told them my side of the story when asked. The whole time, choking back tears. They told me they were giving me a ticket, but the aggressive officer and security guard kept talking to me. You understand why we had to stop you? You understand the store's reasoning? I did tell you you were under arrest. The security guard repeatedly equated himself to the police officer telling me about how they did their jobs. Finally, they wrote me a ticket and said I could go, telling me about a court date next month. 2 important things. When I was being cuffed and cooperating prior to being dragged upstairs, I called the security guard a, oh boy, yeah, small-dicked. Not my brightest moment, but I'd better own up to it now. Also, my left wrist and thumb are completely numb after the struggle. I have cuts and impressions from the cuffs, but they adjusted them and made sure they fit after I told them about it. I made sure the officer noted the complaint in his report. What do? I don't get into legal trouble, and I feel like I should just pay whatever ticket and move on, but I also don't think this is fair or right. I feel like I've been wronged. Have I? Should I do anything? Edit, I get that throwing away the drink was a dumb idea, I just honestly didn't think about it. It was early, I was getting breakfast, it just didn't occur to me. So I'm guessing there's probably similar protocol for retail, but when I was in fast food, if we received damaged product, like, bad strawberries or bad buns or honestly just bad anything, we would have to file a report and actually keep it and make a record of it so we could get compensation for the damaged items. So by OP opening the damaged item and then just tossing it, that does fall into petty theft at that point in time. Also, I understand that OP has anxiety and they're bipolar, but at the same time, there does come a point where you're given every single dialogue option that you can choose and you just consistently pick the absolute worst one to choose. And not to mention, if the store is aware that this guy oftentimes shows up to the cashier with a half-drunk monster, and then they watch him open a monster, sip it, and then throw it away, they may have assumed that he's just been fucking drinking monsters and throwing them away and not paying for them, and then showing up to the cashier with a half-empty one. There are so many other ways that he could have gone about this where it wouldn't have made a mess, but he just kind of chose all the worst possible decisions. And also, as someone with an anxiety disorder who suffers from heart palpitations and anxiety attacks, but I'm not bipolar, in general, I would assume that being bipolar or having anxiety wouldn't cause you to yell the F-slur while being detained by police officers. And also, if apparently your anxiety is bad enough that it'll help coax you into making this many bad decisions in a row, maybe you shouldn't be drinking caffeine, and then apparently pairing it with a cigar. While I myself am not bipolar, I am close with people who are bipolar, and I've talked with them and heard their experiences. And even with this, unless they're going through a manic episode, they rarely make decisions like this frequently in a row. And when they do, they're fully capable of actually taking accountability for their actions afterwards, and they understand that what they did was wrong. So the fact that OP is entirely incapable of recognizing their missteps beyond throwing away the monster can in an edit makes me believe there's more going on than just the bipolar or the anxiety disorder. It feels like there's a lot more going on here. I also don't like it when people use their disabilities as an excuse for their shitty behavior. It's one thing to use it to try and explain why you made the decisions you made, but then take accountability for those shitty actions, but it's an entirely different thing when you use your disability to get away with shitty actions. And I really hope that's not a controversial take to make. R/make my choice. Should I do what's best for myself or for my son? I got married and was very clear beforehand about never wanting to have kids, but I was baby trapped by my wife who lied about using birth control and then refused to have an abortion. Things were pretty rough between me and her because of that and a lot of other reasons, but I stayed with her and helped raise our son because I felt like it was the right thing to do. But things kept on getting worse. She's extremely unstable and lies all the time, so about a year ago, I left and got my own place. My son is 5 years old right now. We've been co-parenting for the last year, with me watching our son 2 to 3 days per week. I want to keep doing this because it means that I can look after my son and be part of his life, while still having days where I don't need to deal with all the stress of being a parent because I really don't like it. However, things between my ex-wife and son aren't great. She's emotionally unstable and has poor self-control. She doesn't listen to him and doesn't get along with him nearly as well as I do. And sometimes, when she's in a bad mood, she'll take out her anger at him by shouting, pushing him, threatening to neglect him, like not feeding him, etc. Most of the time, she's an okay parent, but seeing how she acts when she's in a bad mood and seeing how my son always says he wants to stay with me and not see her, it's obvious that this isn't a great situation for him. I don't think she'll do anything dumb enough to seriously injure him, but he's going to have a lot of issues growing up in this kind of environment. The problem is that, again, even though I can play the part of a good parent, I don't even like kids. I'm very introverted, maybe even autistic, and very sensitive to noise and distractions. I need a lot of time to myself to stay sane, and I can't just get that when I'm a solo father. I don't have any kind of family to support me in this country, so if I take full custody, I'm going to be all on my own, and the only time I'll have to myself is when he's in school or when I pay for extracurricular activities / babysitters, which gets expensive. I don't think I'll be able to get child support from her even if I take full custody. I also would really like to date and get a new partner, but if I have a kid I'm solely responsible for, 99% of women are going to just refuse to have anything to do with me. And the ones who are okay with a guy with a kid are probably women who like kids and want to have more kids. Which, again, I don't want. I didn't even want one, let alone to build an even bigger family. To make matters worse, she's not adapting well to co-parenting. She regularly tries to start fights with me even when our son is right there, and I'm reminding her that we should not argue in front of him. She has also made false allegations about me to my friends and family to try to turn people against me, and is generally doing everything in her power to hurt me, so I would really like to get her out of my life entirely. So in short, 1. Should I pursue my own happiness by just giving her full custody plus paying child support and getting out of the situation entirely so I can start living the life I want to have again? 2. Should I put my son's happiness first by trying to get full custody, even though I'll probably have to give up on all of my dreams, happiness, and any chance of having a new partner for the next 13 years? 3. Should I keep on trying to co-parent, even though my ex is basically trying to destroy my life and just seeing me is sometimes enough to set her off? Just by how OP phrased 1, 2, and 3, it's incredibly clear that OP's already made up their mind, and they really just want validation for what they're wanting to do. Point 1 ends with him saying that he can start living the life he wants to again. Point 2, where he talks about putting his son first, ends with him stating that he's giving up on all of his dreams, happiness, and the chance of having a partner. And option 3 states, oh well, if we choose this one, the abuse is just going to continue to both me and my son. In the end, OP knows his son's being abused. OP knows that his ex-wife can't provide a good environment for this child. But OP's also willing just to wash his hands of the situation and walk away and leave this child with someone who is going to probably really fuck them up in the long term. The other thing too is that if OP really knew that he didn't want to have kids, why didn't he just get a vasectomy? Like, if he 100% knew that he never wanted to have kids, why didn't he get a vasectomy? I mean, in the end, OP knows what the right choice is, and they also know what choice they want to make, and they're incongruent. I mean, hell, OP even understands and recognizes that by leaving his son with his mother, he's going to give him a shit ton of problems in that fucked up environment. Problems that chances are will last a lifetime. Maybe the amount of negative posts are finally getting to me, because when I read this, I just feel empty. Like, at this point, it's just kind of like OP can do whatever the fuck they want to do, because I'm not going to have any influence over it. I can pretty much just only talk to you guys and say what I think the right choice would be. And maybe you'll disagree with me, and there'll be a bit of an argument and a back and forth, but it's not going to change the situation that OP's in. It's not going to change the situation the 5-year-old's going to be put in. But maybe I'm looking at this wrong. Maybe instead I should look at this as I'm helping people not make these mistakes and learn from other people's mistakes and their situations and grow as people. And hell, maybe occasionally I would be lucky enough for someone to stumble upon my words and it might actually help them. Maybe even the original poster. Maybe it may not even be me. Maybe it might be a comment that someone reads and it helps them down the line, because y'all know I don't have perfect takes and don't say the perfect words every time, or don't have the exact right solution every single time for every single post. I mean, as I've said before, this channel's not a monolith, and I encourage comments because I appreciate the disagreement and learning from everyone, as long as it's respectful and not personally attacking me. But overall, I don't know. I'm sorry for getting a little too real here. I kind of just started rambling, and I don't know if I'll cut this. In posts like this one, I can only hope that OP chooses to do the right thing and not the thing they want, because judging by their language, it's clear what they want. R/Purdue, yes, the university. Roommate just reported me to the RA over nothing. Just got a message from my RA about how my roommate complained about me and we have to meet on Tuesday. We barely even talk. He's mad about me shaving in the dorm. I've been doing it for a week and he's never said anything until now. I guess some hair got around, but I don't see how that's a huge deal. Just vacuum it up and move on. Instead, he had to go straight to the RA. Anyone had to deal with this before? What should I expect from this meeting? Now, if you're like me, your first thought would probably be, okay, so he definitely shouldn't be telling his roommates to just vacuum up any hairs that were, left behind after he shaved, but why is he being reported to the RA? Like, this isn't a devil post, this is just definitely inconsiderate at worst, right? Right? No. Hosted by the same user. R/Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for shaving my pubes in the dorm? Oh, and we're reading it. I, 19 male, have been shaving down there for a week now, and I've had no issues. My roommate is usually out early, so I just do my thing, clean up, and go about my day. A few days ago, the one time he was actually in the room while I'm doing it, he seemed fine with it. But then a few days later, he confronted me about it as if it's not my space too, question mark, question mark, question mark. I even went to grab my scissors, and when I came back, he's just staring at me like I committed a crime. I guess a few hairs got around the dorm, but vacuums exist for a reason. We have a handheld vacuum that I usually use to clean up before he gets back. Now my friends have been asking me if my balls are smooth. He told my friends about my own personal business and is acting like I ruined his life over some hair. Am I the asshole? Buddy, you shaved your pubes out in the open when he was in the room, told him to vacuum it up, and you're wondering why he reported you to the RA. Oh my God. Don't forget, this is brought to you by GamerSupps. Use code ODDS at checkout. It's basically a caffeine powder that you put in your water, and I actually really like it. I use this on a daily basis. Don't forget that every purchase you make using code ODDS directly supports the channel. And if you want a personal recommendation from me, I would either recommend the Soda Pressing Pear or Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are currently my favorite flavors. And as a note, once we sell a certain amount of stuff, I get my own flavor and my own cup, and you all know I'm gonna choose some degenerate shit that's gonna make their PR team squirm. My goal is to make them regret partnering with me. So please, use code ODDS at checkout to make my dream come true of making a PR team squirm.